It always comes back to Kung Fu Panda with you.
What?
For some reason, I feel like you talk about it all the time. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Orphic. My name is Alyssa. I'm an astrophysicist. I have my PhD, and I do research on the intersection of science and spirituality. So please follow me on Instagram at interdimensional.astrophysics. Hey.
Hey, I'm Mikayla with Mariposa Moonchild on Instagram, so please go check me out there and follow me there. I work with shadow alchemy and energy medicine, and I desire to be a part of the ripple effect of healing across the planet. So yeah, that's what I'm working on right now.
Okay, yeah. So let's ground in a little bit. We like to start every episode by just doing some deep breathing and getting present.
Yeah, I'm going to light some sage. The cool thing with quantum, the quantum field, quantum reality, quantum,
The
whatever,
quantum.
the quantum, is that I can light this sage, and even through your computer, your phone, YouTube, whatever. So the YouTubers can see it. Oh, I need to relight it. You can still get the smudging can go all the way through all of that right to you through time and space. So
quantum smudging.
I love that.
Yeah.
Quantum smudging.
It's going to be quantumly.
So just breathe in that sage.
It's going to be smudging me because I have sage upstairs and I keep on forgetting to bring it down to the basement. So thank you.
Let's do a little. Okay, perfect. All right. If you're able to, I invite you to drop in, tune in. Okay. I invite you to close your eye. Let's go. I invite you to close your eyes if you're able to. And we're going to take a few just deep cleansing breaths. Just bring it down. Get in touch with the body. Just come into the now. Let's take a deep breath in. Biggest breath of your day. Breathe it in. Sip up all that air. When you think you can't sip anymore, sip more. Hold it here. Open your mouth and let it go. Even audibly exhale. Another deep breath in, filling your lungs all the way up. Pausing at the top. Feeling into your body, into the now. Open the mouth and let it go. Another deep breath in. Filling your lungs all the way up. Pause. I invite you here to hold for as long as you're able to. Feeling your heart beating. Bringing all the tension you feel into your body, into the center of your chest. And then when you're ready, releasing that tension with the exhale. Letting it go. So interesting, our breath, this tool we have, it's always with us. It doesn't cost anything. This tool we can use to inhale light, peace into our bodies. And then the ability we have to let go with the breath. Release the tension, release the worry, release the stress. The cycle of always bringing in and releasing, bringing in and releasing. And now we get to use this tool and titrate it to what really works for us, really optimize and use the tool instead of it just being in auto replay in the background. When you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes and come back into now. How was your time at the eclipse?
Let's talk about that. Yeah. So,
yeah,
in case you missed it, I went to the total solar eclipse, and I went.
Whoa.
And I went to Rochester, where there was Totality, and also where it happened to be the most amount of Totality. That sounded so sounded so braggy. I went to the most eclipse. Except,
I mean, it's pretty cool. That did not happen where I was.
Correct.
So to have the opportunity to be able to go to that is pretty cool,
yeah.
I think.
But I also went to,
what
were you going to say?
I was just going to say that I seen that if you're outside during the eclipse that you will be cursed. Just kidding.
Nice.
Although I actually did see some controversial opinions about that.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't say cancel clear. You're not going to be cursed.
I saw some weird stuff about that too. But I was going to say, I went to the most eclipse, but I also went to the least eclipse because I actually didn't see the sun at all. Did I talk about this? It was completely clouded, but I didn't care. So the thing is with eclipses, like, you're at the mercy of the weather in the sense of whether or not you can actually use your eclipse glasses and see the sun and see the moon going over it and everything. And the reason that I traveled to where Totality was, though, was knowing that there was a risk of bad weather or a risk of not being able to see the sun in its entirety. And I didn't care because it was still going to turn nighttime during the day. And so that is why I went.
Yeah, it's still going to be dark, which is like the
right, exactly
thing. I mean,
like,
yeah, it would have been cool to like see it too, but like it still is going to be dark in the middle of the day, which is whack.
Yeah, and it was. And yeah, so like where I was in upstate New York, kind of, I think other parts of New York were more okay, but where I was in Rochester happened to be like, we drew the short end of the stick in the weather. It was completely clouded over, like really thick, dense clouds. Earlier in the day, it was a little bit more wispy, and there was a little bit more like chance of seeing the sun or having them like go through. But then by the afternoon, it got completely clouded over. But I didn't care because, listen, I was going with the flow, and I was happy to be there. And
what are you gonna
right,
do?
exactly. Like that's like
it's a little out of your control.
I knew from the get when I planned the trip, I was like, it's out of my control. I'm not gonna worry about it. And I also didn't care that much because I've seen an eclipse before with glasses, actually just in October, where I happened to get my glasses, there was a partial eclipse in October. Because I mean, eclipse season is twice a year, so there's always a lunar eclipse followed by a solar eclipse every spring and fall. So I saw the partial eclipse in October, and your face looks confused.
Well, I have a question, but I was also going to say before that, I was going to say, isn't like the whole like weather thing, like it's so interesting because as humans, I think we get so in the like, we can control everything. And then it's like, but we fucking can't. Like Mother Earth is like her own entity and her own being. And like, there's so many things like that we just like are completely out of our control and like we're at the mercy of. And like weather being, well, that could be a whole topic. But if it's coming from Mother Earth, weather being one of them, and then just like natural disasters, fires, it's just like it just really humbles you, that kind of stuff. You know, like,
oh yeah, totally. It's like
tsunamis. Like, what the fuck is a tsunami, bro?
No, it's crazy. Like,
that will humble you.
Mother Nature. It really shows you who's boss, like all the time. Especially because the 3 days before the eclipse, there was an earthquake in New York that I missed because that was crazy.
You're going to the eclipse.
I missed because I was on my way out of state to start my eclipse journey. I think it sound like a plant medicine journey. start my eclipse journey.
I mean,
in a way,
whatever it is to you, it is to you. It's a journey. It
had some effect on me, I swear. Yeah, so that was crazy too. There was an earthquake in New York, which hasn't happened in 10 years. And the last one was also super mild. But it was just like
that's
the
wild.
Elements. I mean, even though some people are saying that it was super sketchy that there was an earthquake shortly before the eclipse.
Oh,
some
really?
People are, there's some people that are saying it could have been controlled by the powers that were, but I don't know.
The powers that be. I didn't see anything about that, but like, I don't doubt it. That's
I don't doubt it.
I mean,
it's possible.
That's a lot of things.
Possible.
Okay, actually, this is okay. A little bit of a tangent, but we'll circle back.
Tangents?
I feel like we always do. I do too. I seen somewhere down in the States. I want to say like it was like Tennessee or Oklahoma or something like that. They in the government have banned weather control through through spray in the planes.
Through oh my god, I'm blanking on the word too.
I know. Weird.
Yeah. What's the word?
Well, it's spraying. Spraying. Like, we through the fucking
chemtrails. That's the word. That's the word. Chemtrails. Yeah.
We're gonna get beeped for that.
No.
Whatever.
I'll go.
But that was crazy for me that I don't know where it was. I'll have to like look it up. But did you see that?
Yes, I did see that. And by doing that, they're admitting what was formerly known as a conspiracy theory, the chemtrails.
Well, not only admitting. Well, admitting it is a huge part of it, but then like completely like actually banning it. So it's like not even just like there's some truth to this like conspiracy theory that like you be called crazy for. And now it's like, no, this exists. Mm-hmm. So that like, I mean, I've already known this is a thing. Like you look at the sky, like you see them crisscross all over the place. And then all of a sudden you have a cloudy day when it was perfectly sunny out. Like it dissipates. You can see it. But for them to admit that in the United States too, and then ban it in that state is wild.
It is wild. It is some awakening shit. I don't know. Yeah.
And it's also like, and the banning part also lets us know, actually, it's not great. Whatever they're spraying,
right.
It's not just condensation coming from the plane,
so
as
true.
like the conspiracy theorists debunkers try to like say.
Yeah.
And it's also bad for us. Like that, it's actively harming us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like, and also speaking of that, the night before the eclipse that I was driving through Rochester, I went to the day before I went to this like really beautiful park that had like this awesome like waterfall and like big like canyon. I don't know. It was just like a really awesome spot in upstate New York. Anyway, then I was driving. So that was really nice. Oh, the day before the eclipse was the most beautiful weather day I've seen like in the entire year. It was like the most gorgeous day. And I went to this beautiful park and it was amazing. It was a very lovely day. And anyway, so I'm driving the night before. The roads up there are like super nice, actually. Like, I don't know. It was just something about it. It's kind of very like cornfieldy, that's like my vibe anyway. But
upstate New York sounds really cool. Yeah. Like, I would love to go.
It's great. I'm going back and
just like Ontario.
Yeah. I mean, I would wait, what? What about Ontario?
So it's probably just like Ontario.
Oh, yeah. Is Ontario is the oh god. Is that the whole province of is that like this? No, Ontario is just is that a place in Canada? There's Lake Ontario.
Yeah, there's Lake Ontario, and then there's the province of Ontario, which Toronto and Ottawa reside in. I thought so. It's touching New York.
Okay, yeah, I thought so.
It's a border of New York.
I just blanked on whether Ontario was like the name of a city or if it was the name. I might have never known.
You're American. You don't know anything.
I might have never known. Well, we're going to have to cut that out. Just kidding. I'll leave it in.
We're not cutting that out. It's anyone that's like from Canada that's listened to this podcast will know it is hilarious. Like the amount that Americans do not know about anything else about America, especially Canada, which they're bordering. Like you tell someone you're from Canada, they're like, oh yeah, you're from Toronto, and I'm like, no. They're like, well, you must be close to Toronto. I'm like, that's so far away from me. That's so far away. It's like Vancouver or Toronto always, and I'm like, neither.
That's particularly bad for me, honestly, because I live on that side of Canada. I'm in New York my whole life and went to college in upstate New York, and I don't even know that Ontario is the name of the province that's right up there, right?
Well, yeah, clearly.
You
don't. I think I don't know. No, it's not the biggest province. I would say Northwest Territories, but it's a big province. Totally. It's bigger than BC, and it's bigger than Alberta, which I grew up in Alberta and I live in BC now. So I feel like the only reason you know about BC is probably because I live here.
Yeah, it is. Never have I ever
and Alberta
said the words BC more in my life than the last year or two.
What does BC stand for?
British Columbia.
Nice.
I know.
Nice. It's just, it's funny because I could just like never imagine talking to an American and they're just like, yeah, like I'm from America. And I'm like, do you live in LA? Are you from New York? It's just like, there's so many other places that they could be from.
Right.
And, okay. I remember going like out of country, like going to Mexico or something when we were younger, and we would meet Americans, and there is dead ass Americans who thought Canadians lived in igloos. Dead ass. They would ask us if we lived in igloos, and I'm like, yes.
Did they think that some of them did, or they really thought that that was just the vibe up there?
I mean, I don't think they necessarily thought all of us did, but like I think they thought that it was like common. Like it was like dead ass, like yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
How common is it?
It is wild. Huh?
How common is it?
I've never seen a real igloo before.
Noted.
I mean, how are you supposed to live in it? Your house would melt in the summertime.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm looking at green grass and dandelions now.
That's true.
People, it's not like the Arctic. I mean, except for when we were really young, this was so much fun. It would snow a lot. Dad would make like a snow hill, and then he would like use a shovel, and we'd like make like an igloo and like play in it. That was like a lot of fun.
That's fun.
But like I wouldn't like sleep like overnight in it or
I hope not.
Unless I was like maybe trying to run away, which I have tried to do before.
Right.
I don't think even up like really far up north, like I don't think we're living in igloos anymore. Like it's definitely like colder up there, but it still becomes summertime. It's actually up north is so crazy because like there's like so many days in the winter where it's completely dark for 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And then there's like the summertime where it's completely light for so many hours a day.
It's crazy.
So, but they still have like houses and shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's just different.
Yeah, guys, it's 2024. No igloos. No more igloos.
Yeah.
Get used to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways.
So
how did we get on?
I don't know.
How did we get onto that?
Something about upstate New York and how beautiful.
Oh yeah, we were talking about how you do it.
Yeah.
No, Ontario.
Yeah. So I was driving to my
Airbnb.
I was driving my Airbnb and on this beautiful day the night before the eclipse, and I was Dad, I'm recording. What are you doing down here? I guess I could. What are you doing?
Checking the leak in the basement.
Oh, yeah, okay. There was a leak.
Hi, Jerry.
Want to say hi to Mikayla? Okay. Yeah, there was a plumber here this morning because there was a leak. But this is a little distracting. All right. Should I just
recording
continue?
In your parents' basement's props?
Yeah, it's fine. Okay, whatever. Maybe I'll just continue. All right, Dad, I'm going to continue, but just be quiet, okay? It's never happened. Okay. So I was driving to my Airbnb, and there's like a beautiful sunset and everything. And I look to this open sky and I see like a bunch of airplanes freshly spraying the chemtrails. It was like they had all just like set off, because it was like, I seriously like 10 of them, and they had all like just started. And I was like, oh, it must be chemtrail o'clock or something here. Yeah. Anyway, so that was crazy.
It's wild. I see it all the time here. Like I'll just like walk the dog or be outside and it'll be a beautiful day, and there's like these two like X's, and I'm like, oh, beauty. That's awesome.
Have you ever
like I'm trying like not to like be upset about it, but like sometimes it's hard. I'm like, fuck you. Like what the fuck?
I know.
Is this? You're like, you're like beautiful world, beautiful earth, and then you're just like, oh, awesome.
Yeah. Well,
and I mean,
like there's that, and then there's also apparently like the weird weather, the weird patterns in the clouds that happen also from HARP or from the weather control things, where it makes like these really weird patterns. It's like, or it's also can be left over from the chemtrails. Anyway, sometimes I've seen people on Instagram stories be like, oh my God, these clouds are so beautiful. And I'm like, oh, they don't know.
These clouds are so beautiful. That's a weird thing to say about a chemtrail.
I've seen people say that they are mostly
I'm like,
asleep.
How can you not know at this point? Like, you literally watch the airplane go by and you see them leave it. And then it stays there and it like dissipates, like gets bigger throughout. Because like not all airplanes, like you like sure, like there's the people who are like, it's condensation. It's not, because like not all the airplanes leave it. No. And there's been multiple pilots that have like been whistleblowers that have come out and been like, they're like, airplanes don't leave condensation like that.
Right,
like,
exactly.
It's not a thing. It doesn't happen.
Okay,
like the physics of it doesn't.
It's a lot about chemtrails. Okay, enough about chemtrails. Let's talk about the eclipse. So,
well, oh, sorry. When you were talking about the weather stuff, I was just going to say, like, but like, there's like the lasers too. Like, there's all of this different stuff.
Oh, yeah, totally. There's a lot of manipulation.
Because, like, there's so many weather manipulation things, but the lasers are very interesting, just with like, you know, the world's been fucking burning.
Yeah. Oh,
in the last however many years. And not to say that Mother Nature doesn't do that, because I know she does sometimes to herself, but there has been a lot. And and that technology does exist. Like that has come out. That's actually been on national television. There's this one clip of this man in 2013 talking about how they are learning how to control weather with lasers. That was in 2013. So where do you think they'd be with a technology like that in 2024? That's 11 years later. So
yeah, those reptilians are onto everything.
Oop, there it is. Anyways, food for thought. Moving on.
Moving on.
How was the eclipse?
So it was cloudy, but that's okay. I went to Lake Ontario for it. Speaking of Ontario.
Okay. Quickly, remember when you said that you seen the first eclipse in Niagara Falls?
Yeah. Well, no.
The other side.
Yeah. I wasn't there for the eclipse. I was in Niagara Falls in 2017.
Oh, the other side of Niagara Falls is Ontario.
Yeah.
FYI.
Yeah. I know that, I think. Well, yeah, I know it's like there, you know, Niagara Falls, you know. So I decided to go to this spot on Lake Ontario that's kind of like it's like a little beachy area, well, beach, whatever you want to call it, beach. And it had like a park, and a lot of people were gathering there. So Totality for us was at 3:20 p.m. And so there was like, I got there pretty early at like between 11 and 12. It was a little bit cold out because it was so cloudy and everything, but I was by myself. I brought a blanket. I brought a journal. I was journaling some intentions. Yeah, because I had heard, so in terms of like because we actually didn't really talk about the spiritual significance of the eclipse, but I had some realizations after still. But in terms of like, from what I had heard, obviously like eclipse season, I've heard a lot of people say that it corresponds to like a grand sweeping of fate, and it kind of just like brings cosmically realigns you to your path, and just because it's like a node point, it is like a intersection of, and it's like a specific alignment of things. So I think that it kind of just like cosmically realigns you to your path and everything, so to speak. So,
well, also this eclipse, this specific one, what has been like prophesized and has been talked about for like a really long time because of the totality of this and like where we're kind of at with like the planet and humanity. So, from my understanding, this was like a very big, this was like a shift. This was like a signal kind of onto that, onto a new timeline. Really, it was like a quantum jumping is my understanding and also feeling in it. So I don't know. Yeah. How did you feel? What was your understanding of this eclipse?
Yeah,
of what it signified or symbolized. Or
I think so too. And I think it was important to focus on what you were calling in and what you were wanting on your next timeline, on your highest timeline. And that is what I was doing. I was focusing on everything that I was wanting to build. And I was journaling. Like I did like a whole page of journaling on a bunch of different categories in my life, like, business, the podcast, love life, all these other things. So I was journaling some intentions, which was really nice. And so it was completely clouded. Nobody had to use their eclipse glasses because I didn't even know where the sun was when the eclipse happened. But what I will say is it actually made it was like a trade-off. It kind of made it like really cool because so we all knew, like, obviously the crowds were getting more and more. And then we knew it was 3:20. So like as it was approaching, people were kind of like expecting it. We're like waiting. We're like looking up, even though we're like not looking at anything. And so sorry, my dad's leaving. Just refocus my thoughts. So it kind of made it cool because it was like we knew it was coming, but because unlike other people that were like actually watching it, go across and everything and seeing the moment that had happened, it was more of a like mystery. It was more of a mystery for when the actual peak of it was going to happen. But so it was kind of cool because the sky was getting like a little bit dark and everyone was like, we were like, is this it? Like, is it happening? Is it happening? Like, is this now? And so it definitely started getting a little bit dark when I think it was at like 99% coverage, something like that. And then what I describe as the coolest moment of the whole thing was there was this like 2 to 4 second span of time where it was just like whoosh, and it was like, oh shit, this is it. Like, oh, like this is it. This is the eclipse. And it was like, and that 2 to 5 second span was literally crazy because it was just like, it was like, when do you ever experience that? Like it was like when the darkness took over just like really fast and it was like whoosh, and all of a sudden it was dark and I could see some of the horizon because I was on Lake Ontario. I could see so far out, I think people that were maybe like more concentrated into the city or that were just like in their house or their backyard, I think they definitely experienced a little bit darker, but it definitely felt like full blown nighttime. But I had it like a little bit lighter because I could see the horizon. So you could see some light like in the distance. But like looking forward into the city itself, like all the streetlights came on and, there were some tall buildings and it looked like, like nighttime and like, That's the crazy. Video that I took still, like, it looked like complete nighttime. And like, yeah, you could see like the city lights and all this stuff. And so for like, I have like a little bit of it on video of me, which is mainly just like this cool, but embarrassing, but cool video of just my reaction. Like I was kind of just like soaking it in. I was looking all around. I was just like, I was looking right. It was cool being with other people. I mean, I was technically alone, but I was with the community there. It was cool experiencing with other people and just seeing everyone be so excited. And so I was just like looking around, but my face looked like a child on Christmas. I don't know. We didn't celebrate Christmas, but I would imagine my face was just like,
I think you know what Christmas is.
My face was just
and
like,
by the way, I'm Jewish. Insert.
That was just like the
Happy
first thing that
Hanukkah.
came to my mind. Happy Hanukkah. Like
Kwanzaa. Is that Jewish?
my face was just like
Get your brisket. Just quick, that's an inside joke, but I'll tell everyone.
Yeah.
It's like I grew up culturally where we celebrate Christmas, and Alyssa is Jewish, so her family doesn't celebrate Christmas. And then we were talking about like I think Hanukkah or no, what were we Passover or something.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
was like, what do Jewish people even eat? Because like I'm not really picturing this like turkey with the potatoes and the stuffing, and you're like,
Yeah.
bagels and brisket.
Brisket. Yeah. We just had some for Passover this week. Brisket. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brisket. Okay. So
your face was lit up at the Eclipse. Was
My
there a lot
face-
of people there?
yeah, it was a lot of people. By
That's
the time, like people were filing in a lot, and it was cool because it was like it was nice. Like everyone was bringing their chairs, their blankets, like everyone was posted up, and there's kids flying kites, and there's it's a whole community thing, and it was really cool. So it did feel like it went by fast. The totality where I was over 4 minutes, but it went
4
by
minutes?
4 minutes, 4.5 minutes.
Oh wow!
Of
that's
total
cool.
darkness.
Because when you were initially talking about the 2 to 4 seconds, like I thought that was all that the eclipse lasted. And I'm like, that's quick. I'm like, how would you even notice like the street lights and everything coming on? Because I don't really know. Like I didn't see it. So
yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So it was 4 minutes, but it was like that. Yeah. It was the 2 to 5 seconds that like it came on really quickly, where it was like, oh shit, like this is it, like this is happening, like it just switches over to darkness. And so yeah, I was really just taking it in. I was taking it in. I was looking around in wonder, and I was just like the video, my face is like like
Wow.
it was crazy. And yeah, and then it gets light, and then there's another, the light does come on kind of quickly. And again, but I would say the most the most exciting part was that few seconds where it just happened, where the dark came on quickly, because that was also like it was cool when the light came back quickly-ish too. I mean, I feel like maybe the light was more subtle. No, like they're definitely, no, it probably was the same where it was like, it just moves past, and like at some point, like it just switches completely. But I think because in the dark one is like the first time you're experiencing it. So that was like the peak of the core memory for me, was those few seconds where it just really took over. And yeah. And then I was just like, I don't know, like the whole time I was just like sitting there, I was just like, what just happened? And like, so my thought, so that was like the moments themselves, and what was all processing in my mind. And yeah, I was just trying to be present, even though I was videoing it a little bit and everything, but I was just trying to be present and just look around, just take it all in. And like, then all the thoughts just kept on, the downloads, or not even like I don't know, like more like just the after effect of experiencing that just would come in over the next 24 hours of like what that meant. And what I'll say is, like, after experiencing that, like I have a deeper understanding of why eclipses are so significant astrologically. I feel like I have a really deep, I've experienced it now. Like there's something about it that is just that it, okay, so it feels like first off, it's very unnatural to the body, obviously, to just experience that change, because it's going quote unquote against the natural cycles of the day and everything, obviously.
Like your like circadian rhythm, right?
Yeah. And even though it's like, this is the thing, it's so, a lot of the effects that I experienced, or like what I'm thinking about it after, are so subtle. And that's why they're almost hard to explain, but it feels so subtle because it's very it's like very subconscious. It's the fact that, yeah, because it's like to my logical surface mind, it's like, yeah, I knew that was coming, right? Like I knew that the sky was going to turn dark for 4 minutes. I knew that the moon was going to go in front of the sun and that it was going to turn dark. But then it's like the body's reaction, or like the subtle energy body's reaction to experiencing that. And so I think it was just so surprising to my brain because
you
it
could
was
see the
so
stars and stuff too, right?
yeah, at other
Oh,
places.
that's
I mean,
wild.
I couldn't, but a lot of my friends saw the
Oh,
stars.
yeah, because it was cloudy where you were
Yeah,
at.
because it was
But yeah.
cloudy. But I have friends that said that they saw stars. And
Wow.
like, so that's one thing. It's
Wow.
like so unnatural to the body. And to the mind. It's so unnatural to the mind because it's so rare and it's so out of the rhythms. But then the other, like, this is the next main really deep thing that I have been digesting since, is that it is so like it's so like apocalyptic in a way,
Yeah.
because, and it's like, and this is the thing, as much as you can know it's coming, like it doesn't even matter. Like I knew what it was, I knew the science of it, I knew that it was coming. And I also, especially with my, like how much I'm thinking about the whole universe and how much I'm thinking about huge things. And I never really get that bogged down in this whole like, oh, we're so little on Earth. And it's just like, for some reason, like, yes, I do, like probably at like a very human level. Of course, I'm not like above that or beyond that, but like I'm just so used to thinking about like everything big.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't faze me that much. But it was so apocalyptic, and not in a bad way. That's just the only term that I can use, because because I think our brains are so used to, this is where it gets even more subconscious, and I think it's so subtle. Like our brains, because the sun rises every day and that's our source of life and it's our source of energy, it's like our brains, I think of the sun as like the most mighty thing.
Yeah.
And in the sky, right? Like it's like the most dominating thing in the sky. And
well,
so
we would
then,
be dead without it too. Like it completely, like it we need it for all life on Earth. Like we need it to grow our food and eat our food. We need vitamin D. Like we need light in our body. Like there's, yeah, the sun is a big deal.
It is. Yeah. And so we think, like, consciously and subconsciously, we're always thinking about it as like, that's why obviously they worshipped it, and people still do in these religions and calendars and all these things. And when there's something that is able to completely block it, it breaks your brain. Like it kind of broke my brain a little bit. And it kind of, for a little bit, it makes you like question what's real in a way. Like it makes you question reality, or it makes you just, it like turns you upset. It turns you around, because it's different to know it in concept versus, yeah. Who did that? It's different to know it in concept versus to actually experience it and to see it, even though I didn't technically see it, and to see it like actually eclipse the sun, the moon eclipse the sun. It's like you're forced to have this understanding that there's something else big in the sky that was just able to cover the freaking sun. And it brings that into the forefront of your reality, and it makes you think about those things deeper. And I just thought that was interesting for me too, because it just makes you think more about the fact that there's these huge things in space. And it's like, even me, like, I think maybe I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, maybe I'm just comfortable talking about all this stuff. Like maybe I don't have
desensitized to it too, right? Because you've talked about it for so long. Like you know, it's kind of like
that too.
You know, people that like work in the hospital or like that. Just as something that I can relate to, it's like after a while you get desensitized to. Well, maybe this isn't super. Anyways, but you get desensitized to everything that's going on, right? And you don't think about some of those things as like you're telling someone. You're like, oh, I was working with someone today, and this happened in there in a car crash, and blah blah blah. And they're like, what the fuck? Like you're always talking about that information of the stars, and like you're always in that world. So there may be an element of you becoming desensitized to it in a certain aspect.
I think so. I think it definitely is a little bit of that too for me. And
or just becoming normal, right? It's just normal in your world.
Yeah, right. And it's like it forces you to be like, holy shit, there's like a huge thing in the sky called the moon, and it's able to just block out the sun. And it's like, holy shit. And and I don't know, it broke my brain a little bit.
Yeah.
And it made me, yeah, it just made me like question things, or not even question anything specifically, but it made me just this thing. I don't know, maybe at this point I'm at the point where I don't know how to describe it anymore. Like it kind of just turns you around a little bit.
Yeah, kind
And
of jolted you.
and so
Shake you a little bit.
yeah, like that, and also kind of just experiencing the darkness, and like all of that combined, like everything of what I just said combined with just experiencing it, like makes me understand why it's so significant astrologically. And I mean and just to our lives. I mean, astrologically is just a label, but like it's just a label to describe what I believe is a larger scientific, like fundamentally true system of how the bodies in our solar system interact with our own energy bodies and our blueprints. And it just makes it, and because I think there's fundamental truth to it, and I think there's fundamental truth to the fact that eclipses and this really significant node point alignment and interaction, like there's just some fundamental truth that like what I experienced, like something shifted, like something shifted after that day, and I understand why now. Like I completely understand. I'm like, yes, something happened there.
Well,
Like something happened.
I think it would be quite jolting to our bodies who rely like completely on the sun for survival to be like, oh, like something like blocked it and went in front of it. Cause like the sun is also something like it's absolutely vital to our survival, but we do take it for granted. Like it's always there. It's always there in the morning. It's, you know, like it's always there the next day. It's like, but we completely need it. Like if it did for some reason, God forbid, burn out, we would be fucked. Like we would cease to exist as we know it, and probably be chaos. Like it would be, like you were saying, apocalyptic. So I think there's probably something about the power dynamic or energy shift. Like, I don't know, I've never seen one in person before, but I imagine it would be quite jostling to the system. I also was thinking, like, what would it be like in like ancient times when tribes are living on the earth or whatever, and they like don't have the technology that we have to like know that this eclipse is coming? And like I'm sure intuitively they have people that probably say or know, but like, could you imagine just being like out working or hunting and gathering, and then like the sky just goes dark for 6 like minutes? Like, think what that process would be like.
It's crazy. Like I think about that all the time. Like, I don't know exactly what they had, or they might have had people able to like chart these things back in, I mean, obviously there was some time where humans are around where they maybe didn't have knowledge of this, but I'm just thinking like how early did they start charting shit? Like I'm thinking back to like Galileo, and like they were, I don't know how, because that shit sounds really difficult.
I think they were charting before that, but it was more like intuitive and like looking up at the sky and stuff. Like I do think they intuitively, well, they intuitively did follow the stars and use astrology and stuff, but it wasn't as like documented and charted at that time. Because you think of like the temples and stuff that are set up like in line with like the stars, and like that's a whole other thing to get into. Or but that was from ancient times. And
right.
But I just think of like, I don't know, I'm just like imagining someone in a tribe, like I'm like out there, I'm like picking berries out in the forest, and all of a sudden like it gets dark and it stays dark, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, and then all of a sudden it gets light again, and I'm just like that would be crazy. Like just in the middle of the day.
Yeah, it would be.
I mean, also total eclipses seem like, is it not like crazy that a total eclipse can happen? Like total, like shouldn't that be like super, super rare? And I know, like, no, they are rare, but like to like totally eclipse, like to be totally in line and to like block out the sun totally.
Yeah, we talked about this on our eclipse episode. Hollow Moon Eclipse.
It's just crazy.
Go listen to it, folks.
And what?
Yeah. No,
Hopefully I didn't ask this already. I feel like this is like a dumb question maybe, but what is the difference between a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse? Because
I
feel like I don't get it.
A solar eclipse is when the moon is completely blocking the sun.
I get that.
So it's that's true. We've just been talking about that. Yeah. So, but in comparison, so the order of the celestial bodies is sun, moon, earth. So it's a moon sandwich. And then for a lunar eclipse, the moon is on it. It's also a perfect alignment, but the moon is on the other side. So it's sun, earth, moon. So it's during a full moon. So solar eclipses only happen during a new moon because we're seeing the black side of the moon. We're seeing the dark side of the moon because the whole bright side of the moon is facing the sun. So a lunar eclipse is when the Earth's shadow is when the sun the Earth's shadow is cast on the moon. And that is one of the ways that they proved that the Earth was round. Because we saw the shadow of the Earth on the moon. So yeah, a lunar eclipse that's why like a lunar eclipse, the moon will look like reddish or something. So it's sun, earth, moon in perfect alignment such that the Earth's shadow gets cast onto the moon. That's why.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. I understand now.
Yeah. So lunar eclipses are like, okay, they're not as cool as solar eclipses.
Well, yeah, no, a total solar eclipse is very, very cool. Just even a partial solar eclipse. But I understand what that was, but I was like, the lunar part, I wasn't. Because I'm like, does the sun go in front of the moon? I'm like, no, that doesn't, that does not work. That doesn't make sense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
that would be interesting.
Makes sense that it's the Earth that's in between the sun and the moon.
Yeah, the Earth's in between. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So, like, overall, I would say, sure, if the weather was, I don't know. I mean, obviously, like, everything happens for a reason. I don't have any negative things to say about my eclipse experience. It happened the exact way that it was meant to happen. Of course, like, maybe if it was perfect weather, whatever, that would have been a different experience and I could have seen it, or like, I didn't really care that much about seeing it. Like, yeah, it would have been cool to see it with like just the ring around. Like, I guess that would have been cool. Sure. But I got the experience. Like, I was hoping to get an experience out of it. And like, I got an experience that feels like it was life-changing.
Wow. Well, and that's what was the talk of this eclipse, that this eclipse will be life-changing and for the trajectory of humanity. And so I know I was definitely feeling it after. I was like so exhausted. And it's crazy too how us humans, like, I feel like I'm judging myself. I'm like, why are you so tired? Like, you know, and then I met up on this like group Zoom thing and everyone's like the exact same symptoms and every single person is like, I am fucking exhausted. Like, I can't pick myself up out of bed. And I'm like, oh, poof. Like, at least it's not just
after
me. But goes to show.
We're talking after the eclipse, right?
That was like little bit after the eclipse. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I had the exact same thing too. Like I also experienced that fatigue, and I noticed online, like a lot of people did too. For a few days after that I got back, there was like, I took like long ass naps in the middle of the day, just like crazy fatigue. And yeah, you were experiencing the same thing. I was seeing a lot of the same things online. So I think that there was something energetically happening there. There's sure.
A lot. And like neck and shoulder pain, and like I also recently seen a lot of people have been experiencing that, or I was on another Zoom call for some other stuff, and like all of the women in there also, there was like 10 or 11 12 of us or something, they all were like experiencing neck and shoulder pain too, because that's something that I sometimes think is just like me, but no, they were all experiencing it at the same time. So it's interesting. Goes to show how we're so connected to each other, to the planets, to the moon, to the sun, to what's happening with them. They're like the movements, everything. And aren't like all the planets like lined up or something right now too? Like, isn't it something like that?
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, it might be, but sometimes I don't pay attention to that stuff. Something else was wanting to come through about the eclipse being like a pause moment,
A pause in the
because
dark,
that's
in the
kind of,
void.
yeah, a pause in the void to realign, a
Ooh.
pause like a chiropractic realignment.
Whew.
And yeah, yeah, pause, readjust, continue.
I love that. I mean, and like also the pause, like in the dark, like in the void, because the
Mhm.
void, the darkness, the womb, like that's where all creation comes from. All
Yeah,
creation comes from
yeah,
this place of darkness. All creation comes from
yeah.
darkness. Like, you know, like we're
And
birthed
this
out of our mom's wombs. We're in complete darkness.
that is part of that is part of the significance of it, like the significance of eclipses in general, the alignment, the darkness, and how it's so momentary. And it's just like, yeah, man, crazy.
Yeah.
Pause. Ooh.
So, a
So
few, do you have anything to add?
no.
A few episodes ago, I was talking about my health stuff and what was going on with me. So if you haven't listened to those, go back to those to listen for some context. But there was this that I was speaking about this reel that I seen about these like scuba divers in the water, and I felt like that was like very much pertaining to what I was going through
Yeah.
at the time and like being in this storm. So there's these scuba divers that are in the ocean and it's storming, like the waves are crazy, it's raining, and the reel shows how like on the surface it was just like crazy waves and they're in the middle of this big storm, and then they dive deeper and deeper into the water and it's so still and silent, and there's no storm happening like deeper they go. And I just thought that was like so powerful and so interesting, and I was really contemplating that reel that I seen. And then recently, just yesterday, I came across this quote and I really wanted to share it with everyone. How can you silence the surface of the ocean? You can't. How can you find any stillness on the ocean? You can't. The nature of the ocean is to have little waves and big waves, and that is called oceanness. So the stillness is below the surface of the ocean, not on the surface of the ocean. Trying to silence the mind on the level of the waves of the surface of the mind is futile. No, you dive below the mind, underneath the thinkingness. Below thinkingness, prior to the thinkingness, is an infinite field, an energy field of silence. This silence is present now, even as you listen to these words. Underneath that talkingness is an infinite, profound sense of silence. This is the infinite field of the self with a capital S, the Buddha nature, the field of consciousness itself. A quote by David Hawkins.
Ooh. Wow. That's so good.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. It's like, I think it's so important to like remember that we're not really supposed to quiet the mind. It's like, it's, or everyone says like, oh, in meditation, like, oh, I need to quiet my mind. It's like, it's our minds are computers.
Yeah.
Our minds are computers, and like, they're not for us to control in that way. But yeah, I really like that quote. It just, because people like spend too much energy trying to like quiet their mind, or people get too down on themselves for having an overactive mind or something. And it's like, yeah, meditation can bring you kind of into a calmer place like that. But I don't, that was the biggest thing that stuck out with me in that quote about they're like the ocean, the top of the ocean isn't like, you don't have control over that. Like,
Well,
It's going inward.
I think it's speaking to how there's different layers that we have access to, right? I just thought it was interesting how I was literally talking about this reel and I was like contemplating this, and then I'm like, this quote like perfectly explains like what was happening like in this reel of these scuba divers in the ocean. It was just really interesting. But I think there's different layers. So what it's saying is, the waves and the thinking is kind of the top and the surface of the ocean, but to like find that silence, you have to go inward. You have to go deeper. So this to me is the coming out of the surface and deepening into the body. So dropping into the heart space. So that's also interesting. So if you think of thinking happens in waves, like thought patterns, thought forms, waves that are happening in the mind. If we drop below the mind, we're dropping into the heart. And if we drop below the heart, we're dropping into the gut brain, and then even like our root, which is like grounding us into the earth. So I think in that way, it's also really interesting. And it's just speaking to this like the going in deeper to yourself, because most people operate at this like thinking they're on the surface level. Most of their life is on the surface, right? Like we forget that we're on this rock flying through space and we have access to these different layers, these different higher or lower that we anyways. And like we get into very much the patterns of the systems, and we're kind of living on this surface level of like, I'm the center of my universe, yada, yada, yada. And then deepening, I think, allows you to go to leave that space. You don't have to end the thoughts, but you go from a different space, leaving that and going in deeper where you have more access to that soul, to the soul, your soul. And that's also like all the answers that we're seeking for, that this brain, the wavy brain, the thoughts are trying to figure out, well, my rent is due. What about this dilemma? What about this? So I got to get this done. I have this big to-do list. We know, our soul knows, we know all the answers. So when we actually let ourselves go deeper and drop into that soul where there's that silence, it's like the space of no thing and the space of everything. It's this dark void of the eclipse where all creation comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super cool.
Yes. That's exactly what it was making me think of. It was making me think of like the beginning of the Sophia Code, where it's like the womb, the creation, like it's everything. Like it's everything. There's no separation. There's, can't even do the words justice.
Well, so know what I was doing on the eclipse, because you were out like watching and stuff. I have restarted. I'm starting to reread the Sophia Code. I wouldn't say read because it's much more than that, but I'm going through the Sophia Code for my second time. And I did the Isis chapter and initiation. I was doing it, actively speaking it out into reality as the eclipse was going over.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah, super
I like
cool.
that.
And actually, I'll get into this. I had this really profound and beautiful experience that I had not experienced the first time that I went through it. The first time I went through it, it was super profound too. Like super, super profound. Like this is like a DNA activating transmissions of like the rise of Christ consciousness across the planet. But so now, because I think you can go through it as many times as you want when you feel ready for it, when you intuitively feel ready for that. And I think there's like a deepening, like the layers that we were talking about. There's a deepening each time that you go into it of these layers. So Isis is the first initiation and activation, and I decided to read it out loud and do the whole ceremony during the eclipse. And I had this moment with Isis where I had all this emotion just bubble up, and I started crying because it was like I let her in. Like I felt like maybe I've been avoiding her over the past little bit, like not super consciously, but I had been avoiding like sitting down and really connecting with her and listening to her. And I was taken back to this past life that we actually had together in the flesh. Like I don't think I was with any other ascended masters. Anyways, it's a whole thing. But I was actually, this lifetime, I was with her in the flesh, and we in a mystery school in Egypt. And we had this moment. Yeah, it was really cool. And we had this moment where we just embraced and hugged each other. And the emotion that came out of me, like I was ugly crying. Like I just started like ugly crying because I missed her like so much.
Whoa.
And it's even making me emotional talking about it right now. It's not something I can explain. It's something that just like happened. But it was like, I just missed her. And it was like, I was just like embracing an old friend, an old sister. And we just had that moment where we're like, sister. And she's like, I'm so happy that like you're here with me again. And I'm just like crying. And I've missed you so fucking much. Like, I'm so sorry that I've like turned away from you, or I haven't been like as open to connect with you as I would have liked to be. Like, it was profound. And I seen this past life just like crystal clear of our work and our time together. And we were learning from Hathor, because Isis is teaching the Hathor lineage, who I also feel quite connected to. And so that was coming. Yeah. So we were learning the Hathor mystery school, the Hathor lineage that Isis was, facilitating at that time in Egypt during the golden age of Egypt.
Whoa. Wow, that is really powerful. Wait, was the remembrance of the past life, was that on the eclipse day? Is that what you're saying?
I had remembered it before, but I hadn't like really let myself go into it, and I like really let myself go into it this time.
Wow.
And I could see myself. Like I was this very tan girl. I was very tall in this lifetime, and I had these big feet and like this curly hair. And I was like living with her and learning from her over my lifetime, and learning, the alchemy of Isis. And it's really interesting because sometimes like these stories, like they're very personal to come on the podcast and like speak of these. Like sometimes I even have resistance to speaking about it because I'm like, I don't know, in this like new age movement or whatever, I think a lot of people are talking about their connection to Isis and the goddesses and the yada yada yada. And I was Mary Magdalene in a past life, and there's like everyone was Mary Magdalene in a past life, and it's like, well, we all Mary Magdalene. Like, how does that work? Although I think that's a thing too. I think there can be fractals that come off, and it is possible for us to all like be that. But anyways,
yeah.
And so I think sometimes I have a resistance in speaking of that because I don't want to be like, I'm the one who's connected to ISIS. it is very personal, but I think if you're listening to this, if you resonate with being a starseed, you resonate with stuff we're talking about, you have your own connection in these lineages too. And it's your own journey and your own story of how that comes to you and how you connect with it and stuff, because there's different teachers in the Sophia Code, for example, using that book, that transmission as an example. And there's some that I feel more connected to than others. I'm connected to all of them, but there's some that they're like your overlighting mentors that you're like deeper connected with. Like some people will be like, I'm connected. Like I feel so connected to Green Tara. Like she comes to me at these times, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, I'm not super connected to Green Tara. I don't resonate with her energy as much, but I do really respect her energy and really appreciate her energy. And that's something that might even come later. Who knows? But I do find that there's like, different energies within that each of us will resonate and really connect to for different reasons. And if you feel called to any of that, I invite you to, explore it and feel into it, because I do think that this is something that most of us, if not all of us, have access to. I mean, I do think on a human level, we all have access to it, but I think there's different things in the way which maybe could be like our what we have contracted out for this lifetime and stuff like that. Because there is these souls too who have contracted that we're here to help and have contracted that we're going to access this information and this type of consciousness in this lifetime. But if you're here and you're listening. You're on this path. If it's connecting with goddesses, or if it's just raising your consciousness or awakening, or, I mean, these are all kind of buzzwords, but like you're on this, you're on some type of path. You're on some type of journey here of deepening your relationship with self.
Yes.
So yeah, I would say you have access to this too. And if it is the goddesses, or if it's just the access to the deeper remembering of self, that access to our past lives, our Atlantean lives. That was another past life that I've had come through recently. If it's the remembrance of our connection to the earth and how we have access to that, if it's even the remembering of just that, it's just the remembering of our ability to listen. We get so caught up in this thinking wave surface. Oh, I love this quote so much. I feel like so much is coming to me after this, but we get so, we're living in this thinking on the surface, but we have access to this going within in this silence where also everything comes from the silence. And then that's where we get to use our subtle senses, and we get to learn to listen to the earth and build that connection. Listen to the animals, listen to the plants, the spirits, ourselves, like, because really, once you know how to drop, like, this is what Lucia, who we love to talk about, facilitates in linking awareness, is like this subtle sense and remembrance. Because once you know how to go into that space, it doesn't matter what you're listening to. It's not like you can listen to all of it. You can connect to anything. Like it's the same way I go into the past lives. It's the same way I may talk to an animal or connect with Isis, or how you're tapping into the frequencies of different galaxies and star systems and the sun, and like it's all same but different. So it might be different, whatever our things are, but we all have access to that, listening to the connection of really of walking our soul path, our soul destiny, and wherever that connection, because we're all meant to be connected to each other, to the earth, to our spirit team, whatever it is. And there might be something that's like overlighting, that's, a shining light, that's, a lighthouse for your destiny path, for your soul path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Do you want to wrap with talking about Vegas, baby?
Sure, yeah. So, drum roll! Dun, 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 dun. What are we doing, Alyssa?
We're going to Vegas, baby!
Woo! For my bachelorette.
Vegas!
Do. That's funny. Hi, Osa. Osa, like at the exact minute, you're like Vegas, like busted in the door.
Osa's like, Vegas!
You won't be coming, Osa. Sorry. You'll be with Daddy. Woo! So yeah,
that's Mikayla's
I
dog.
got the go ahead for my health that I'm able to go to Vegas, and this has kind of been my dream bachelorette. So we're doing the things. We're gonna go to Vegas and we're gonna party, and
yeah, I'm excited. I've never been to Vegas,
because like you live in the States. Like I'm so surprised. In like your college era,
5 hours away.
Is it a 5 hour plane ride?
It's like 4 or 5 hours.
Probably same as me.
Probably 4. Is 4 hours from you?
4.
Same distance to you.
I mean, it's it's about a 4 hour plane ride, I would say, ish. Probably 4 to 5.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going like down the. Yeah, I'm going straight across.
What does it matter?
Yeah, I've never been. I don't know.
Straight across.
I don't know. That's just a side note. That's just a side note of truth.
I'm surprised that you never did like a college trip with your friends or ever something, or any of your other friends that have got married, or I mean, like not like you have to go to Vegas. You don't have to. Yeah. It's definitely like a trip that you have to commit to.
No,
but
like. I'm surprised too. It just, the opportunity has never presented itself. So I just have never been. And yeah, and it's also now going to be the second time that we're meeting in person, and this time
It feels so weird.
Well, you won't.
I was trying to look for a photo of us the other day, and I'm like, wait, we have one photo together because we've only been together in person once, but it's just that feels so crazy because we meet not only do we talk like constantly, but like we're at least Zooming with each other once a week usually.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And you were like pretty sick last time we were hanging out.
So sick
when we met for the first time.
Like I haven't been sick since then. And I have flashbacks of it where I feel bad because I'm like, I wish I would have like taken you to do things. Like there's so many things that I would have loved to have done with you, but I was so sick that I can barely remember when you were here. Like it's like a clouded memory in my mind. Like I'm like, I can barely even remember it.
It's so crazy. Yeah, it was
like even getting through
recording.
I must have been coughing I was coughing the entire time through that episode, wasn't I?
Yeah, there was some coughs going on for those episodes. When we were in person, we recorded a 2-part episode about Shambhala Music Festival that you had just come back from, which was why you were sick for the most part. And then we also recorded an episode about aliens and about disclosure and
go listen. Go listen to those if you haven't listened to them. Especially if you're into like music festivals and stuff. I talk about the music festival Shambhala in Canada, which is like if you're in the festival community, it's like a pretty big deal. It's one of the coolest festivals out there, if not in the entire world. It's very, very unique for reasons that I mentioned like in the podcast, but I just gotten back from there. So I speak about my time there. So yeah, definitely go check out that episode.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, like that was the only time that we met, and I stayed at your house for like 5 days or maybe for like 5 nights, 4 days. Yeah. Something like that. And
next time I'll do more with you.
A little rough for you.
So I flashed back to it. I'm like, oh, like I wish I would have taken Alyssa to like the waterfalls or like taken her down to the beach and we could have had a beach day. Like no, like I was.
What? We did go swimming. We went swimming in the lake. Yeah. Yeah, we went swimming in the lake one day.
I have no recollection of it.
It was like a quick dip. It was more like we went down, we swam for like a little bit, and then we came back up.
I don't remember it. And I'm not usually like that. I usually have a pretty good memory of like stuff like that. So yeah, that just goes to show how sick and like out of it I was.
Yeah, it was a little unfortunate for you, but
it's okay.
It's okay. That's still had a good time. I loved your house.
Yeah, you were
so cute. And I loved bonding with Osa.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart. You'll be back and we'll do more. You'll be back. I mean, you're going to come back in the summertime. I don't know if you'll be here specifically, but we'll see each other again in the summer. And in Vegas.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah,
Vegas.
I'm so excited. But I will say, like when I was younger, I had like no inkling, that's like not the right word, but I had no desire to go to Vegas. Like I just wasn't something like, and I love to travel. I'm such a traveler, but Vegas just like never interested me. Like I never grew up and was like, I want to go to Vegas. But then Bryce moved to Vegas and he lived there for a year to play hockey with the UNLV, the university team there. And so like I have to go to Vegas now. And I went like 5 times that year and I absolutely loved it. It was so much fun. It's like an adult playground. I don't know, so much fun. And I've never done like a girls trip to Vegas. Ever since I was there, I wanted to do a girls trip because going with your girls to Vegas is just different than like being with your boyfriend. Like I love you, Bryce. I had a great time with him, but it's just different experience. And so I'm like really looking forward to this. And what better time? And it's also just like a time, like it's a place where you can just like party all the time. Cause it's like, you know, like we're in our later 20s, but you're 31.
31.
I'm in my later
we're in
20s,
our 20s, guys.
And so, which is like doesn't mean that you can't like go out and have a good time, but like around here there's not really a nightlife like there is like a club and stuff, but it would just feel weird. Like I would just feel out of my element. Like,
Yeah.
But when you go to Vegas, it's like, no, everyone there is dressed up. They're looking good. They're having a good time. It doesn't matter how old you are. You can be 70 plus. Like everyone is there just having a good time. So I'm pumped about it. I'm pumped to like put on something slutty and go out or like, because I wear sweatpants every single day and I love my sweatpants. That's why I wear them. But like, I'm looking for a good time.
Sometimes you just gotta let loose sometimes. And yeah, I'm really excited for us to get some quality time and to meet your friends and your sister. And yeah, well, it's nice that we'll have that weekend so that it's not like the next time I see you in person will be at your wedding.
I agree. It'll also be fun because I'll get to show you a little bit of like the rave side of my life, because that's the one really nice thing with Vegas and why I wanted to go there, because like there's so many options for clubs that you want to go to. All the clubs are fun too, like you don't feel out of place. And there's so many options as far as like DJs and EDM, which like if you listen to Shambhala, like I'm into EDM music and raving and stuff like that. So I'll get to show you that little piece of me because I've already kind of put us on a guest list for some DJs that I'm looking forward to going to.
Oh,
so
sweet.
Yeah.
Cool.
Abundance.
We're doing it.
Calling that in. And we'll get to dance.
Yeah.
Because I love
it's already here.
Because I love dancing. And it's gonna be great.
Yeah, so look forward to our Vegas recap episode sometime. That'll be happening sometime in the summer. Vegas recap.
Yeah, look forward to that. I'm like, what's that saying? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
That too.
No, we'll see.
Vegas recap will be the first 2 minutes of the episode.
Recap it, maybe we'll see how it goes. But yeah, very much looking forward to it. It's gonna be a time. So very exciting for me, for all of us, and we got to get on booking that. So
we shall. Beautiful. On that note,
let's wrap it up.
Want to
wrap it up like
Great.
A little gift, which is the present.
Oh God. Love it. Did you just think of that? Is that a
no,
thing?
I recently seen a quote. Actually, have you? You're not like into
you and your quotes.
Yeah. You're not like really into cartoons,
no, I like it.
Which is like kind of annoying.
No. This always comes up. There's always something that comes up on the podcast. How you talk about cartoons and asking if I know some cartoon or something. And no, I can't say. I love SpongeBob. I'm a huge SpongeBob fan. But other than that, don't make that face.
I didn't realize this always came up on the podcast. That's funny.
It's come up.
I've always liked cartoons, and I like cartoons with Bryce. I know, like, I remember when he lived with his one friend too. We were watching like Despicable Me, and he was like, "Why are you watching this?" And we're like, "Why are you not watching this?" Like, it's weird to me. Like, it seems to me it's very normal, especially if you're like, indulging in maybe a little cannabis, you're having a chill night, you're getting some snackies, some ice cream, like you put on a funny cartoon. Like there's nothing better.
Yeah, I guess.
I'll have to show you. Well,
like when you say it, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I guess it was just
especially when they're like funny and
go-to.
cute. Bryce and I love cartoons. Like we watch them like so much. But when you were earlier when you were talking about like core memories, I'm like, have you seen
yes. Inside Out.
We were watching that one the other day. That one is so good.
Oh yeah.
It's rated really highly,
really
which I could tell.
Love it.
I was gonna say
and
that one
Soul.
too. Yeah, you actually were the one who told me about Soul. So see, you do watch cartoons sometimes.
Oh. Yeah, I watched the I love the Pixar movies and everything. Soul is
really good. Inside Out and Soul are really good. So like go watch both of those if you're listening and you like cartoons. I was gonna say Kung Fu Panda.
It always comes back to Kung Fu Panda with you.
What?
For some reason, I feel like you talk about it all the time.
I would really like to hear the listeners' take on this because this surprises me to hear that I talk about Kung Fu Panda often.
I don't know, but I don't know if it was a deja vu moment. I don't know. You saying Kung Fu Panda, I'm like, again? No, but continue.
Okay.
Continue.
Have you watched Kung Fu Panda?
No.
What? This is wild. Okay. Actually, you gotta watch Kung Fu Panda.
Okay.
You just do. Okay, so everyone that's listening is going to be like, I know Kung Fu Panda. I highly doubt there's anyone who's listening right now who's never seen Kung Fu Panda, so they get it.
Okay. I know of it, yes.
So in Kung Fu Panda, I mean, it's about Kung Fu. So there's like the Fab Five or whatever they're called, the Ferocious Five, that are like these big superheroes that are the Kung Fu masters in China. And so like Kung Fu, like any martial arts, is like, disciplined, and you're learning underneath someone, if it's like your sensei, or I don't know what they're called. But anyways, they're learning underneath their master. And then that master has a master too. And he's this, Master Shifu.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Master Shifu is the little guy with the ears, who is the Fab Five. You're like, you're losing me.
I believe you.
Okay. Master Shifu, he has a funny name, is the guy with the ears that is teaching the up and coming Kung Fu prodigies, masters, superheroes, whatever. So above Master Shifu, he has a master, and I forget his name right now, but he is this tortoise, this turtle, and he's talking to the Kung Fu Panda, which that's a whole thing. and he's like, fuck, what did he say now? Just a second.
Did you just stop your video?
Did I? Yeah. It's just a brief part. You are too concerned with what was and what will be. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. But today is a gift. That is why it is called the present.
Oh, yeah. I think I've heard of that before.
I'm sure you did.
I've heard that quote
It's not just from Kung Fu Panda, but that was like the whole...
Yeah.
The whole spiel.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's what we were talking about. The thing where you did the present. I forgot how we got into on any of this.
Yeah, the present. Yeah, that was that was a real tangent, but it's not from Kung Fu Panda, but the master was teaching it in Kung Fu Panda because of the Dragon Scroll.
Right.
Which Dragon Scrolls, Dragon Warrior, is also very relevant to right now, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm. Year of the Dragon.
Well, in the Sophia Dragon tribe.
Oh, yeah, that too. I thought you were talking about the Chinese year.
Well, all of it. It all goes together.
All of it. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Anyways. The now is a gift. That's why it's called the present.
The present. It's a gift. So, thank you for listening. We appreciate you. Please make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube if you have not. Check out all of these episodes on YouTube with full video. And also give us a rating and a review wherever you're listening. If you're enjoying this, and recommend it to a friend. Everyone has at least one spiritual friend. Maybe. Hopefully. So tell them. Tell them. Follow me on Instagram at interdimensional.astrophysics. Follow Mikayla at Mariposa Moonchild, and the podcast at the Orphic Podcast. Do it. Anything else to add? Beautiful. Have a lovely day, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, goodbye.
Bye.